Stand by. The vacuum tubes are warming up. This is a special live broadcast right here on Georgia Radio.
It is always fun when friends stop by. The last time Miss Nancy was here, she shared with us what kind of biscuits her late husband George Jones used to like, as well as the availability of George Jones, The Lost Nashville Sessions. It is out now, and if you haven't downloaded this, you got to go do it. It is just a phenomenal collection of songs. Miss Nancy, welcome back to Georgia Radio. Glad you could come on.
Well, thank you. I love Georgia, and thank you so much. And talking about the biscuits, well, let me tell you, there was nothing but country in George Jones. Now, if you gave him biscuits and cornbread and some turnip greens and pinto beans, oh my God, and mashed potatoes, he was in hog heaven. A lot of people think, oh man, those people, they eat steak and they eat this and that. No, that he was just a Southern boy that loved good country eating.
I love it. Well, The Window Up Above, I'll Share My World with You, The Race Is On. They're all there on the new release of this, George Jones, The Lost Nashville Sessions. These are masters that were never released, if I understand it correct.
Well, what you have is people will say, I've heard those songs before. They have, but they've never heard them sing this way, because what it was, this was called a pitch session. And what an artist would go to the radio stations and they would get there and sing a song, which was going to be their next single or whatever. And they would sing that song, sing their heart out is what they were doing, trying to get airplay. So once that was done, they would take those and just throw them away. They didn't need them, you know. They're through. They're through with it. So somebody took them out of the dumpster and started collecting all of these at certain stations that he went to, and they collected them. And Paul Martin and Rex Allen Jr. called me and said, "We have these. We have like 16 of them. Would you be interested if we could put these out, but we won't touch George's voice? We'll just bring the sound and everything up to par of what's happening today." I said, well, that sounds great, but try not to touch his voice. They said, oh, we're not going to. And that's when it came out. And if you would listen to these songs that he did for airplay to try to get radio to play them, you will be blown away, because they're so crisp and so, it's like you can just reach out and touch George singing them.
Well, it's a great album. It's out right now, George Jones, The Lost Nashville Sessions. It can be in your collection. And we're going to play some George Jones right after we get finished with this interview, because you got to play George Jones after talking to Miss Nancy. How did the two of you meet?
Oh.
How did y'all come into contact with each other?
A girlfriend of mine was dating one of his managers, and I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana. And so me and her were talking, and she said, would you go with me to New York? I'm like, I haven't lost anything in New York, honey. No, thank you. And she was like, please. I said, I don't even know who George Jones is. I don't even care about country music. And she just kept on and kept on and kept on. And because I was into Creedence Clearwater. That's what I love, that kind of music. Oh, yes. I could clean a house in 10 minutes if you put Creedence Clearwater on.
There you go.
But I finally, she talked me into going, and I went, and I was blown away how somebody could put an audience in his hand like he did and sing those songs and bend those notes. Oh my gosh, it was absolutely unbelievable. So at that time, I was hooked on country music.
He wouldn't sing Green River for you or anything like that, I guess. Couldn't go back to Creedence, but well, that's all right. I think it worked out. And the two of you had, I loved the way you described it, kind of a normal life up there, just outside of Nashville in Tennessee, in your hometown there, where you could just go out and do things. I think people, they often are probably mystified by what fame brings. So going from Shreveport to Nashville, what was the change like for you?
Oh, it was a big change because I had to learn a lot, and I had to learn. And George was going to make sure that I learned the music business and do his business. So I learned a lot from George. I mean, he was a very smart man, even though a lot of people was like, oh, he was drunk and he did this and that. Yeah, he did. But he was a smart man and he knew the business. So he taught me everything that I know about country music and how to even how to get contracts. I mean, he was wonderful.
It's all in the book too, by the way. Still Playing Possum, Music and Memories of George Jones. That is also still available. A book that you authored and turned out
on Amazon. Yes,
on
you
Amazon.
Can get it on.
It's fantastic.
Also, I got an Emmy.
Yeah, you just had one of those laying around after that. Talk to me about that. What was that? What was that like?
It was wonderful, and the Emmy was on a show that was done in Huntsville, Alabama, with about 35 of the biggest country artists there was. That was last year, and when they said we were up for an Emmy, I was like, no way. So we went, and when they said the winner goes to George Jones Playing Possum, I like to fell out of the chair. I'm like, oh my gosh. So when the first thing I did when I got up there says, thank you, Lord, for giving me the courage to get up here and talk, because I am a nervous wreck.
Well, it all worked out well. We have a lot of young folks who listen to this that dream of having 1/10 of the success that your late husband had. What do you want these young artists to know who are up and coming right now, who are listening to this? Maybe they're a singer, maybe they're a songwriter and don't want any part of the fame, but what's your advice to these folks who want to get into country music?
Don't give up. And like George said, keep it country, and don't ever give up, because if that's what you want to do, it's bred in you. I mean, it's just like, I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to write songs. And once you get your mind set on that, you can do it. I mean, you can just keep on trucking.
Do you have a favorite? I never asked you that. Do you have a favorite of his?
Walk Through This World With Me.
Walk Through This World With Me. That's track number 12 on this new one. Again, the Lost Nashville Sessions. You can go back through there and rewind with George Jones and get a copy of Miss Nancy's book that's still out, Still Playing Possum. You know, we had a possum around the farm the other night, and I thought about you. I thought, well, it's just a few days from now, and we're going to have Miss Nancy back
that's
on.
George telling you to be nice to his wife.
Yeah, well, listen, Mrs. Possum, who lives out here, is very well fed. I think she eats a lot of the cat food that comes out for the barn cats, and they get along very well out here. So,
oh Lord,
she's well fed.
Did you watch the Opry last night?
The 100th? I sure did.
Yeah.
Boy, wasn't that something?
Garth Brooks, I mean, he nailed it, didn't he?
He
Talking
did.
about the great country singer, and Luke Combs doing the grand tour. I just thought that was wonderful.
It was all well done, and what a great tradition to have still alive up there, and to have him a part of it. I just think that's wonderful. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on, and I don't know what you got going on this weekend, but I hope you sell a lot of records and have some fun.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Nancy Jones, again, you can get a copy of the album, George Jones, The Lost Nashville Sessions. It is out right now, as well as the book.
Matt Jolly, right here on Georgia Radio.